Hello, Brad here, just to say we're super proud that the Friday 5pm podcast is sponsored by the Malt Miller, the UK's best home brew store.
We use the Malt Miller for all of our homebrew experiments, as well as tapping them up for advice and binging on their awesome YouTube channel all the time.
That's why whenever we release a homebrew video, we put a recipe kit live on the Malt Miller, so you can brew with the exact same amazing ingredients that we did. The same ingredients used by pro brewers.
So alongside the Malt Miller's nitro-flushed hops, cold-stored yeast and milled-to-order malts, you can pick up recipe kits for our 5 Points Best Bitter, Russian River West Coast IPA, and now the fastest beer in the world, a hazy session IPA that goes from grain to glass in less than 48 hours.
Sign up to their newsletter at tinyurl.com/Malt Miller to get 5% off your first order. With the Malt Miller's amazing customer service and Jonny's 48-hour recipe, you could order the ingredients on a Monday and be drinking the beer by the weekend.
Speaking of which, it's Friday.
It's 5pm.
So enjoy this week's Friday 5pm podcast. Happy Friday, Big Geeks. I hope you are having as much fun as I am, because I am down at Duration Brewing up in Norfolk. Down up in Norfolk. Where are you, Bradley?
You're down up in Norfolk. I'm down
up in Norfolk,
I'm down south in Catford. I've just been drawing some lavender, which is lovely. A lovely way to spend
Drawing some lavender?
Yeah, I'd sort of where I do my design stuff on the, as well as craft beer channel. One of my tasks today is I'm illustrating for a regular client. So I'm drawing some lavender, which will be infused into making home perfumes at home, essentially. So it's just
right.
things to do this summer, Jonny. That's the
What an incredibly wholesome way to spend a Friday, Brad.
Yeah. I mean, certainly better than the hangover I had yesterday, which stopped me drawing the lavender. But hey. Yep.
Oh, did you stay late after our shoot?
Yeah, I stayed with Jack pretty much till closing, I think.
Oh, my days. Yeah, because I left you guys at about 7, and Jack was like, I fancy a beer. And you're like, yeah, I'll stay for one. And a little part of me went, no, I don't think that's going to be one beer. And clearly my instinct was correct.
Yeah. So we can talk about what we did. We were filming with Anspach Hobday and on a crazy multiple location shoot day. But we ended up in a classic haunt of a sort of craft beer bar in London, didn't we, Jonny? A place that I don't necessarily go to that much anymore because I don't live that close. But Mother Kelly's certainly has a place in the hearts of many.
Oh, I mean, it was probably, in my mind, it was the first really proper craft beer bar that dedicated 20 taps and endless fridges to small batch and pretty unusual beer, and I used to go there all the time back in the days when London craft brewing was at its peak. I think it's struggling a little bit at the moment in London, but yeah, it was really nice to go back there after 4 or 5 years. And actually, I didn't drink anything but Anspach Hobday beer there, but it was pleasing to see lots of exciting other stuff, including Baron, my local brewery, were in there, which was very nice to see.
Nice, yeah. I still think. Even after all these years, Mother Kelly's is still quite an impressive place. There aren't many places that have usurped it in the number of taps and the number of fridges that are in that sort of density of space. Because it's not huge, but it's sort of all singing, all dancing. So yeah, it was great. And I like the sort of, what do you call it, kind of banqueting tabling, where you're sort of forced to make friends with people. I think that's quite nice.
Yeah, my stranger danger was on high alert, particularly with what we were filming, where we were going up to potential people who we'd kind of forced a pint upon and went, what do you think of this?
Well, I did, Jonny.
Yeah, you did. I just filmed it. Yeah, very much so.
It basically, it felt like every time I was going to go and chat somebody up, which,
It was like being a teenager again, was it?
Well, I don't know about teenagers these days, because nobody chats anyone up anymore. But, I'm nearly 40, and when I was 20, the only way you were going to meet girls or guys, if you're into guys or whatever, is going and actually physically talking to them, because we barely had mobile phones.
Dad, you've never sounded older in your life than. I'm pretty sure that young people still talk to each other.
I don't know, man.
They don't just text each other to the point of getting married.
Nah, it's all like internet dating chisel and like DMs and all this sort of business these days. But back in the day, it used to be you'd go out, you'd see someone you sort of like the look of, and you'd have to be brave enough to go and talk to them. Or you'd sort of think, oh, I've let the love of my life escape because I'm too much of a coward. So basically multiply that by 20 times over, going up to people the other night and going, I'm not a weirdo, I'm not trying to chat you up, but can I buy you a drink? And I'm not going to murder you, I'm not going to poison it, but it's delicious, honest, and I've got no bad intentions. And then surprisingly, or not surprisingly, everyone but one person said, yes, please. Because who doesn't love free shit, Jonny?
It's true. So we had a wild time in Mother Kelly's giving out free pints to, in the end, very willing participants for the shoot with Anspach and Hobday. But then, so what were you drinking after I left? What caused the hangover?
Oh, London Black, mate. Yeah.
You kept on it?
Yeah, Jack was like, oh, yeah. He said, you can have what you want, but I'm going to keep on the black. He said, I don't get to drink it that much. So I said, it'd be rude not to. So I think we probably had maybe dispatched another 4 pints of it, I imagine. Maybe a bit more.
Good Lord, we'd already had 3 or 4.
Yeah, so I didn't feel too clever the next day. But yeah, man, what a beer. What a sessionable beer. It was incredible. I love it.
It is, yeah, 4.4%. Yeah. But it feels even lighter and more drinkable than that, I think, and I'm quite excited to see. So we've put together a video, basically putting it next to Guinness and saying, could this be London's Guinness? It's a sponsored video, by the way, as well. But we've put a lot into it, a lot of porter and stout history. We've gone to some important sites in UK brewing, such as the old site of the Anchor Brewery, which is where Barclay Perkins and Courage brewed. Decades before, certainly in the case of Courage. So it's going to be a really cool video with, like we said, lots of different locations, some history, some tasting notes, the whole brew day of London Black as well. And that's going to be in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
It wasn't the only hangover you've had, right? You were also at a Budvar event.
Actually, it was the only hangover I've had, Jonny, because I drove to a Budvar event. How crazy am I?
You drives to a beer event, Bradley.
Yeah. But this was all in the name of professionalism, Jonny, because I knew we were filming early.
That is your middle name.
The next day we were filming early, Jonny. So I said, if I drive there, I can only have literally a pint, and then I have to go. But I went to Budvar launch for their new to the UK beer. I think it's pretty much new to anywhere. Called Nefilter, which is a sort of unfiltered pilsner. Similar to the original, but higher IBU, lower ABV, and a bit hazy. Not crazy hazy, but a little bit hazy. And it was a joy. There were lots of beer luminaries there.
No, those are different people.
Yeah, like Pete Brown was there. Some old friends. I'm not going to name check a bunch of people, but lots of journalists and stuff were there, and me and my girlfriend, who I took along because I said there's going to be free pizza, and we both love Ace Pizza. It was at the Pembury Tavern. I forgot to mention that, but yeah, the filter was tasting pretty good. The original I thought was tasting excellent. My good friend Radim was sort of demoing the sort of Czech, all the different Czech side pours. Czech styles.
You said there was some beef that the Pilsner Urquell standard pour, the Hadlinka, they're not into. They have a different take on it.
Yeah. So Radim and also Adam, who's the brewmaster, the 10th brewmaster ever of Budvar, he was there talking, which was quite amazing. He was very passionate about the nectar that he was producing. Such a sweet, lovely man as well. They were both sort of saying to me that, actually it's more Radim about the pour, but he was saying that how do we say it? Sorry, I've forgotten. The
Hadlinka.
Hadlinka, yeah, no wonder I've forgotten. The Hadlinka is a 1-part pour, and the tap stays under the foam the entirety of the time. and it's not hard. It's not hard pour, but it's a 1 part pour. So the difference between that, which is the PU way, the standard pour, and their standard pour, is they do a 2 part pour. So they let the foam out for about 3 seconds. You get about 3 seconds of foam into the glass, and then you fully open up the side pour. So you get liquid, not foam. And then that foamy head raises to about the 2/3 mark on your glass. And then you take it away. You take it away for 30 seconds, Johnny, away from the tap, out of being under the liquid. So it does, it breaks the surface of the foam. You let it settle for about 30 seconds, and then you go back in and you top it up. Fully open with the side pour, so just all liquid.
And what would you say was the difference flavour-wise? Because the Hadlinka is supposed to emphasise the carbonation, the bitterness, the crispness of Pilsner Urquell, whereas our other pours are more about the smooth, buttery,
I would
deliciousness.
I would say it was a bit maybe smoother and a little bit sweeter.
So somewhere in between the Hadlinka and the Snit.
Yeah. And it was, it's amazing, isn't it, that we can, we are not making this up. You can pour the same pint
it does sound made up,
of
doesn't
Czech Pilsner, which, a lot of people, big IPA drinkers and stuff, might dismiss it and go, hasn't got a lot of flavour compared to, whatever, a big Nipa or something else that's sort of, spiky and crazy. But, you can pour this thing a bunch of different ways, and honest to God, it tastes different every time. It's quite incredible.
I think, there's 2 important points to make. One is that when people say that lager is boring, I think I've said this on the podcast and probably on the craft beer channel many times, but there's a difference between simplicity, something being simple and boring, and something being nuanced,
Yeah.
So if something is much lighter, fresher, cleaner, more simple, you can have nuance very easily. You can play around with it. Whereas, if you did the different pours with an IPA, I don't think you're going to particularly notice much difference. So you can play around with lager more. But also it shows the dedication, the training, and the attention to detail that goes into pouring pints in the Czech Republic compared to the UK, where it's just open the tap, 45 degrees, slowly pull it straight, and nobody really thinks about, the texture, the theatre, the potential for flavour, for oxidation, any of that. The closest we get is arguing about sparklers or no sparklers.
Exactly. The side opening ourselves up to the world of the Luca side pour tap with a totally different. It has a ball valve inside it and these different gauzes that you can really
to get wet foam.
You can get that's it.
Dry foam.
You get wet foam. So instead of being something like 20% wet, which is our sort of the way it pours out of one of our regular
box standard foam.
Yeah, you can get. I think he said 80% wet foam. So that means that if you let your pint settle, 80% of that head will turn into liquid.
So if you pulled a Mliko, the full-on foam, and let it settle, you'd end up with 80% liquid.
I think so.
80% of the volume of liquid
out of the foam. Yeah.
Out of the foam, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So,
and you got...
Sorry, no, he said up to 80%, so that might not be a Maliko.
Oh, okay.
So you can. It's amazing. It's like a sort of watching a Jedi or something. They can manipulate the foam in a way I've not seen, other than Henok manipulating foam. Also on a Luca. But yeah, man. Magical stuff.
And you got gifted a Luca, right?
I did. So I'm friends with Radim. Shout out to Radim, UK ambassador for Budvar, who seems to have a pretty cool job where he travels around sort of as a beer educator, teaching people about the wonders of side pour and whatever, and also how to pour beer.
He's the foam Jedi.
He's a foam Jedi. He's certainly a foam Jedi.
Obi-Wan Kafomi.
He's gonna love this. He just straight. I told him he's a keen home brewer as well. He's got a Radimski brewing set up in his house where he lives, which looks very, very cool. And he makes all different styles of beer. Haven't had a chance to try any yet, but he was asking about our own home brewing exploits, and I told him we were going to make a Kieser, and I'd love to have a side pour tap on there at some point. And the man just went straight over to some corner and cracked out a frigging Luca and handed it to me and was like, "You can have this, mate. If you need any help installing it or anything, I'm your man." So, big shout out.
You know what, I was thinking about this because initially I was like, I quite like to install it. I want to work out how it works, but wouldn't it be better if we got a master Czech pourer, Obi-Wan Kofomi, to come and install our Luca tap to make sure it is working beautifully, and I could brew the best attempt I can at a Czech Pilsner for it.
This is optimum geekiness. If we get the guy, the OG real deal dude, to come down, help us out, give us all his pointers, I think it has to be done. We've got to make it happen.
Yep. There we go. That's a video right there. Talking of homebrew, the final thing we did, we've had a busy week, Brad. On Monday, we brewed our Omnipollo collaboration. So this was the imperial stout that we've been teasing that we're going to be making, and we made a 36-litre batch of imperial stout, which we then split across 2 fermenters, added lactose to one for Bradley's. We're not adding lactose to mine. And that was what I mashed in at 8:40. And we transferred at 4. So it was a long old brew day. And we missed our numbers, so we've had to use a little bit of malt extract to get to our numbers. But there's no shame in that in homebrew. And I learnt a lot about mash efficiency in the process.
Yeah. It's crazy, that 1-to-1 ratio that Hennock was suggesting is wild. Having seen what was it, 3-to-1 in the end we were with?
We were at 3, yeah. So just for non-homebrewers or for people that haven't thought about mash this much, you have a ratio of water to grain when you mash in, and generally it's between 2 and 3 to 1. So 2 to 3 water to 1 grain. Hennock was encouraging us to do 1 to 1. So basically drier than porridge, like porridge when you've left it on the side for 20 minutes. So we did that with the first mash. And it was incredibly dry. We didn't get the efficiency that we wanted. Even like Hennock knew that he wasn't, but I didn't calculate that correctly. So with the second mash, we had to go pretty traditional to get the numbers we needed. So yeah, massive learning curve on how to do that, and probably I'll be looking into techniques to do really dry mashes in the grain farther as well. But afterwards, I was having some discussions with some different people. I had a discussion with the head brewer of Galway Bay Brewing, who obviously make 1000 Fathoms, which is an amazing imperial stout. And yeah, he said his mash efficiency when he does that beer is like 42%. We got 62% mash efficiency, which is really low for us. But yeah, he was just like, no, you just have to accept you're going to use an absolute megaton of grain for not a lot of beer.
Yeah. Yeah, I sent you I follow an Instagram account called Depths of Wikipedia, which just some sort of interesting people look at the weirdest stuff on Wikipedia, and I sent you a sort of grab of a man drowning in a grain silo, and said that was our mash, and it was like saying don't die in the void or something of a grain silo, and I just thought that is essentially what we were trying to sort of produce. We were fighting against a void of grain.
Thankfully, the only victim was my white walls while brewing a dark beer. So I'm going to have a little look into that. Maybe put some kind of covering up so that I'm not constantly scrubbing and repainting my beautifully, lovingly, hurriedly painted studio walls.
Splashback.
Splashback. So yeah, that video will be going live in a couple of weeks. Obviously it takes a long time to ferment a 10% beer. Well, not a long time, longer than it would for anything else we've brewed before. So yeah, I'm not quite sure when that video will come out. We just need to check the beer comes out well and that the adjuncts are as delicious as we're hoping for, which they better be because I spent £100 on them. Yeah, should we talk about this week's video?
Oh, it'd be rude not to, wouldn't it? Especially after what we've just been talking about. Yeah.
Oh, and that, yeah. Yeah, so this week was our video, the second video coming out of the Church of Omnipollo, which we visited a couple of weeks ago. And this one was all about what even is pastry stout. So looking at the definitions, the history, and then, of course, talking to one of the greatest creators of it in Hennock, co-founder of Omnipollo.
Yeah, I mean, I saw one of the comments was like, wow, you really did get a lot of footage from the trip. I think we did. We were only there for like 2 days, really. But it was three days.
Not
but
even 48 hours. It was
Yeah.
just shy of 48 hours we were there.
we absolutely smashed it with the footage, despite being both horrendously hungover.
Yeah.
It was hard. It was a hard slog, but my God, I think it was beautiful. All the stuff we got there. So pleased to be travelling.
Yeah, it was so nice to be out there and to be making the most of it. And this video I thought came out really well. You know, we've been doing What Even Is videos for quite a long time, but it was really nice because this was probably the first one we've made since the world's opened up, and it was really nice to get an expert and somebody involved in that whole scene on there for the first time, to be able to have somebody go like, you know, we said this is the history of it, but he was like, but this is the beer that inspired me, and brought out the Narca beer, which caused some consternation in the comments. Lots of people amazed at such a whale being brought out at such, you know, so not dismissively, what's the word? Casually. He was just like, yeah, I traded for this. I mean, there was some comments being like criticizing us for not being like, oh my God. You know, we drink a lot of Wales. You see, we're very privileged.
We're the Prince of Wales.
Princes of
Wales.
There's a t-shirt.
Yeah, it's a bad t-shirt. Have you seen that?
Yeah,
Just to divert slightly, have you seen the footage which has resurfaced of Prince Charles? I think it's maybe early 80s, where he's talking about to a reporter about a suitor for marriage, and he licks his lips in a really disgusting way.
Oh no!
It's grim. It makes me feel a bit sick watching it. He looks like a sort of cretinous. He just looks like a creep. Basically, he's talking about, you know, what he would want in a wife, and then he licks his lips in a really odd way.
What? Why have we gone here, Bradley? Why have we gone to this dark place?
Prince of Wales, mate.
Prince of Wales, sure. So we drank the beer that sort of inspired Henoch to get into pastry brewing. I also love the revelation that when he was a kid he wanted to be a pastry chef. I think that's an amazing little full circle that he's travelled.
And he is. Boom. He is a pastry chef.
Yeah, well, that was kind of the point I was making, Brad.
Yeah. Full circle in that he is a freaking... Yeah, anyway.
What did you see any interesting comments? And I think I know what you're going to talk about.
Well, you know, I'll let you go first because my comments are bigging up my
they're all about you.
My ego. Yeah.
So I just enjoyed. There were quite a few comments from people sort of saying pastry stouts aren't for me, but if other people like them, then power to them. Which is a very uncraft beer geek approach. Usually, it's I don't like this, so therefore everyone else is wrong. So I appreciate Jonathan G and Very Keen to Please and some others who were sort of saying, I don't like this at all, but I'm glad that you do. And I think that's probably how a lot of people feel about pastry stout, because some people absolutely love it and some people just sort of don't quite understand it. And I think I understand it a lot better off the back of our trip to Apollo, sort of understanding the amount of craft that goes into it's the sourcing that's the real craft, and also the acceptance of how much malt you're going to have to use. And how good that original base beer is going to have to be. And I'm really worried that ours won't be, but we'll see. Go on, Bradley, tell us about your fleece.
No, I was going to add to that comment, your comments, that, you know, the fact that people are like, yeah, go on then, is testament to, I think, how passionate Henoch was in that interview. That you can't really argue with a man that's that geeky about beer. That, you know, the beers he makes are, you know, amazingly well considered and incredible feats against nature. So yeah, I think
yeah, agree.
People cannot go they can't just dismiss it and go, it's crap, isn't it? Because you just listen to that guy espouse for a good while. But anyway, yeah, people really liked my feeler fleece that I wore, Johnny. My pink feeler fleece.
I liked it too. Just for the record.
That was £5 at a boot sale the week before. Got pretty lucky with it, I think. My girlfriend absolutely hates it, and when she really didn't want me to buy it, it was quite rough on the outside. I've given it a good wash. Not that it was unclean, but she was
just needed some fabric softener.
Yeah, it was like she's like, this is like sandpaper rough on the outside, and then the inside feels a little bit like a neoprene wetsuit. Which I was confused about until I showed somebody who knows more about these things than I do, and they said that is a windproof lining, my friend. That's a thermal coat you've got there. Thermal coat for £5, Johnny. So
I mean, you can't argue with that.
Yeah, and it is bright pink and orange, so I love it. Yeah,
and it's like wearing a piece of history and feeler.
Exactly. I don't even know how old it is. It might not even be that old, but yeah. So we had.
It's got new rave written all over it. I think it's 90s.
It does look 90s, but I mean that is fashion, baby. These days, everything's about the 90s. So we had comments from JS. 4 Directions. Brad looking absolutely decadent in that jumper. Another comment said. From Greg Johnson, feeler jacket is on point, Brad. And he also said another great video, guys. Yeah.
That's irrelevant at this point, isn't it?
Yeah.
The video's no longer about beer, it's about Brad's brand new £5 fleece.
Yeah. Kazim Edmund replied, I came for the beer but stayed for the pink jacket. So
just staring at it for 15 minutes.
I do try hard with, some of my looks. I try to push the boundaries and look a bit wacky because I think it's sort of like it's part of my personality, and I think it's it's good that I can
maybe there's a Cribs-esque video in diving into your wardrobe.
Oh dear, it's very disorganized. It's half full of vintage motorcycle jackets that I used to collect. I've literally got about 10 different Bell Staffs and Barber Internationals and all these and Lewis Leathers, all these really amazing old sort of motorcycle jackets, but I don't get them out too much anymore. They smell a bit weird because they're wax cotton, and leather. Also, leather smells kind of weird as well, but quite amazing. I also like lumberjack jackets. So I've got loads of those too. Lots of virgin wool jackets, American made in Seattle and all over the place. Alaska outfitters and all kinds of stuff, man. I like all of that sort of stuff. But...
Okay, stop with the spoilers, man. We're making this video.
Okay.
We'll put a beer in your hand because clearly all people want is a beer in our hand, and then to talk about what you're wearing that week.
Yeah. Well, we got some comments about my my multicolored Ralph Lauren patchwork top that I wore in on the polo as well. So I think
you brought the fashion to the pastry.
Well, I'm trying to bring
videos.
the color to the pastry stuff because they are these mad sort of colorful ingredients. I think that was my deeper sort of feeling was that I need to sort of shout color and fruity flavors and stuff because of what we're talking about. Johnny, I've just remembered that I woke up at 4:00 this morning and I wrote some notes in my phone about videos we should make. And then when I looked at them this morning I was like, they're fucking terrible ideas. But I was having a lucid, vivid dream that I was on a roller coaster, and we were doing beer reviews on a roller coaster, and we were drinking beers as we were going on a roller coaster. At another point, we were making a starter for a homebrew. So we were you had a jug that you were putting a starter in, and then doing its thing while we were on a roller coaster. What do you think? Do you think any roller coasters will let us drink and film ourselves as we go hurtle around at various G-forces?
I'm gonna file that under stuff for Brad to research.
Honestly, it was the most amazing. I thought, oh shit! I woke up from the dream and I was like, I need to write this down, otherwise I'm going to forget. And then it's so disappointing.
The first time that's ever happened in craft beer channel history. The first time you've gone, I need to write that down.
No, I've got reams of stuff I've written down, but this is just one that I thought was terrible. So so I've told you about it. I was like, this is not good. What was my crazy? Usually I have nightmares and horrible sort of dreams and stuff, but this one was joyous and we were just having a great time, mate. So yeah,
there you go. So watch out for Bradley's fashion channel and Bradley's roller coaster reviews.
Yeah. Well, I thought it could
Johnny will probably not be partaking in either.
No, but we'd have the thumbnail sorted because when you go around on the vampire ride or whatever, it takes your photo at some point.
Oh, that's true. If you forget the thumbnail, you've got a backup.
Yeah, we'd have the YouTube thumbnail image. We'd have to use that as well. So that's the whole series, man. We have to buy that £20 photo that they try and sell you at the end of the ride, where you either got your eyes closed or you look scared or you're just looking the wrong way or something. We've got to buy that every single time, and then we've got to make a cracking video. Which
would cost more than the advertising revenue we'd get in return.
Oh, hell yeah. Unless it went viral. Could go viral, Jonny.
Unless it went viral.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Because we're now swimming Scrooge McDuck style in American sense, thanks to going viral. I think I could be one round to this idea. I'll have a think over the next week, and I'll update you in Friday 5 p.m. next week, hey?
Sweet, cool. I'll try and have some more strange dreams to...
Please do.
To give you next week. What do you reckon? Yeah, nice.
Please do. Sounds good. Alrighty, guys. Well, that's all we've got time for. We'll be with you on Wednesday when we are visiting Track Brewery in Manchester, and then of course we'll be back for Friday 5 p.m. Brad will probably be wearing something wacky, but you won't be able to see it. I think the feeder fleece might come out in the track video, maybe. So look forward to that on Wednesday. The Bubble and Friday 5pm podcasts are brought to you by the nerds behind YouTube's craft beer channel. You can watch over 400 mini documentaries at youtube.com/the craft beer channel. And if you love what we do, support us via Patreon and get access to merchandise and our amazing Discord forum, a positive and welcoming space for everyone who loves beer, food and homebrewing. Love and beer.